How to Feed a Brain by Cavin Balaster. Nutrition for optimal brain function and repair. I pair this with Brain Rescue, which is Dr. Bernie Miller, and we work on the brain. Everybody has a brain. Everybody needs a brain. Everybody needs to rescue their brain if they've had a concussion. They need to feed the brain if they've had a coma. Both of them have been through so much in terms of brain injuries. I myself have been through 17 brain injuries as well, but never a coma. So I really want to focus on the brain Fridays and Saturdays when I can. Chapter 12, Food Labels in the USA. Whether organic or conventional, what is most important is that the foods described above are supplied. Oops. What? Whether organic or conventional, what is most important is that the foods described are supplied. That being said, the author would like you to know where and how to supply the best quality nutrition as well. And because many of us shop at a grocery store in the USA, we have created a handout that outlines food labels in the US. He says, there is a lot of confusion surrounding food labels. In fact, he says, I have talked to farmers who were selling eggs that were labeled cage free, but their chickens were actually pasture raised. Their eggs were of higher quality than advertised. This shows that even farmers are confused about food labels. So let's go through some of the more common food labels. Any are terms like organic, grass-fed, wild-caught, or pasture-raised just a marketing gimmick to charge more? What about free-range, cage-free, vegetarian-fed, or all-natural? After extensive research and conversations with farmers, functional practitioners, and nutritionists, and he's a nutritionist now, the author, it has become clear that some labels mean a lot, while others don't mean much. Let's break down some food labels and meanings. I'm gonna pull the light closer. Oh my god. Okay. Uh, For your convenience, all charts can be found as printable, full-size, color PDF files at feedabrain.com/handouts. Hi, Beverly Lynn Lopez. I am fine. How about you? It's a Saturday morning and we're learning how to feed the brain. Just a while ago, we also were talking about how to change our brain from a concussion to hold back our inhibitions, hold our impulses. Now, here, we're back to the food labels in the USA. There's a humongous chart here. I can't really show you in color, but he's got lots of info in this particular chart, and you can go to the site I just mentioned. Breakdown, try to get organic or non-GMO fruits and vegetables. I mean, look at how many things he says in here. Gosh dang. Okay. Grass-fed beef, lamb, fish. Oh, excuse me. Grass-fed. Can't have grass-fed fish. I'm sorry. Okay. Breakdown. Try to get organic or non-GMO fruits and vegetables, grass-fed beef, lamb, buffalo, and dairy products, pasture-raised pork, chicken, turkeys, and eggs, wild-caught fish. Disregard the words all natural. There is no legal definition of the natural label. Local. There are no legal standards for the local label. That's a lot to read. I know. That's why I'm letting people go for the coconut oil for the brain. I don't know. Farmed or farm fresh. This label doesn't, the author would know actually. This label doesn't necessarily mean anything farmed or farm fresh, yet it is often used to make eggs sound more appealing. Cage free or free range. Both cage-free and free-range labels are still indoor confinement for birds. Let me show you the the drawing he has here for the cage-free and the free-range. They're supposedly able to go out a little tiny door to get to a little closet-sized enclosure, so that can be legally defined as cage-free or free-range. And he says that that's essentially baloney. Farmed fish. Fish farms are tanks or netted areas in the ocean where fish cannot interact with their natural environment. This is the book, just so you know. Okay, how to feed a brain. Nutrition for optimal brain function and repair. And he even goes into gastric feeding tubes. So, hospitals used to feed, he said that hospitals used to feed like high fructose corn syrup to people in comas, which is like baloney. I mean, I don't know how baloney would work, but he gives you a lot of info on how to do gastric feeding tubes, etc. And he works with people. He is now a functional nutritionist, he said this morning. There is no, okay, all natural. This label means nothing. There is no specific definition of the natural label. In general, the FDA has considered the term natural to mean, okay, I need to go. So sorry, but no, 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 you don't have to announce leaving. We only announce leaving at airports, right? Um, to mean that nothing artificial or synthetic, including all color additives regardless of source, has been included in or has been added to a food that would not normally be expected to be in that food. Unfortunately, the label says nothing about how the food was processed or manufactured. The label must include a statement explaining the meaning of the term natural, such as no artificial ingredients or minimally processed. A food that is genetically modified, administered antibiotics and hormones, fed an unnatural diet, and factory farmed in crowded conditions could still potentially carry the label all natural. Local. This label does not necessarily mean anything. There are no legal standards for the local label. So a grocery in Texas could potentially sell melons from Guatemala and call them local with no repercussions. Shop at a store that has a reputation to protect because the law is too loose to protect you. Hey there, I'm just, oh, hi, 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 hi. The only way I could do that if I was you, wanted me to, I could come and then I could go, what the heck? That being said, if we are aware that the food comes from a small local farm, even if it's not certified organic, it is often better than big farm organics shipped in from far away. Organic certification is a long, tedious, and expensive process which may be cost prohibitive for some small family farms. You know, Cavin Cavin Balaster this morning in his class in Dr. Brody Miller and Cavin Balaster show a class on Tuesdays and Saturdays. You can go look for Dr. Brody Miller and write in that you'd like to go to the WhatsApp Rebound community. Rebound, Rebound. Okay. Farm raised versus wild caught fish. Ooh. Wild caught fish are preferable. Fish farms are tanks or netted areas in the ocean where fish cannot interact with their natural environment. The first one was so good. Instead of the fish being free to roam and to eat their natural diets, they have been fed a diet that they did not evolve with. Wild caught fish are preferable, cage free, free range, and pasture raised. Are you Hmong? Some people ask me if I'm Malaysian. I am not. I am Shanghainese and I have some Turkish in me. From like maybe 1 in 512 at least parts. Okay, now back to the book. Calvin says Try to get pasture-raised eggs and to not support the indoor confinement of birds labeled cage-free or free range. I'll show you the photo, the drawing again. This is what they mean by cage-free or free range. The realistic part is the part where it's also crowded. They try to make you think it's the room on the side, but that's what they're saying. And free range conjures up images of an open range for the birds to roam, but what free range actually looks like is much different. The U.S. Department of Agriculture's USDA guidelines only require producers of free-range chickens or eggs to demonstrate to the agency that the poultry has been allowed access to the outside. But according to the Humane Society of the United States, HSUS, no information on stocking density, the frequency or duration of how much outdoor access must be provided, nor the quality of the land accessible to the animals is defined. So there usually are a few doors that go to a tiny closet-sized yard for hundreds of chickens or more that are so congested that many may never see the light of day. Cage-free is even less desirable. It is the same as free range, except that the birds are not even given access to a small outdoor area. Pastured or pasture raised, not to be confused with pasteurized, poultry is a sustainable agriculture technique in which birds or other omnivores are actually able to roam on a large pasture as opposed to indoor confinement, not pasteurized. The author says we do not want pasteurized. Good morning from Bangladesh. Bangladesh. You guys are Islamic, I know. Both, I think so, right? Mostly. Both cage-free and free range are still indoor confinement for birds in the United States. Pastured or pasture-raised is the kind of pork, eggs, chicken, turkey, and other poultry that we want. Non-GMO. This label tells us that the produce is not genetically modified. Bangladesh, Myanmar. This label tells us that the produce is not genetically modified, but why does it matter? Non-GMO. There are two main forms of GMO crops: herbicide resistant and pesticide producing. Farmers want to get rid of any weeds that among their crops, so herbicide resistant fruits and vegetables are planted. These plants are genetically modified to be able to survive when sprayed heavily with an herbicide called Roundup or glyphosate, while the unmodified weeds around these plants are killed by the toxic herbicide. Though it sounds like you can simply wash the glyphosate off of the produce, studies imply that the herbicide soaks into the plant, and no matter how much we scrub the produce, the toxic herbicide cannot be washed off. Also, it has been shown that plants bred to be resistant to Roundup are inefficient at absorbing minerals from the soil. So we get fewer nutrients from herbicide-resistant GMO crops. Interesting, huh? We have a few more pages left. The other kind of genetically modified crop is called pesticide producing. This is a genetic modification in which the food itself produces toxins that kill insects when ingested. It does so by damaging their digestive tracts, which contributes to intestinal permeability in rats and is also likely a cause of leaky gut in humans. He's got quite a few websites here. Uh, anyway, in April 2015, Time magazine published several charts in an article called "These Charts Show Every Genetically Modified Food People Already Eat in the US." Now, the author showed us something. I have read this book before, yes. Um, while this article does not speak into the harms of GMOs, It is helpful to know which U.S. crops are commonly genetically modified. You can find these charts at feedabrain.com/GMO. Also go to archive.org. Anyway, over 90% of all soybean, cotton, and corn acreage in the U.S. is used to grow genetically engineered crops. But other food crops that are approved to be genetically modified include sugar beets, alfalfa, canola, papaya, and other crops listed below in order of most common to least common. There's 1 through 10. Corn, soybean, cotton, potato, papaya, summer squash, canola, alfalfa, apple, sugar beet. Organic food is always non-GMO, but non-GMO food is not necessarily organic. Organic fruits, vegetables, and grains. The organic label, which when found on fruits, vegetables, and grain, means that the food is non-GMO and that it is not grown with the use of most synthetic fertilizers and pesticides. Because of this, it may be better to get local food that we know to be from a small local farm that does not use GMO seeds. Additionally, there are some excellent companies that provide quality products that are not yet certified. Eggs, which are sold as non-GMO, are reduced a bit in price, which means that you can get quality eggs at a good price. I'm skipping a little bit. Organic meat. The organic label when found on meat products means that the animal was raised on organic feed without the use of antibiotics, which is great, but that feed still may have been an unhealthy diet. Okay. Then he says an example is that organic chicken or any other poultry may be raised in congested confinement while being fed organic feed. This is why when it comes to meat, we can do better than organic. We want grass-fed beef, lamb, buffalo, and dairy products, pasture-raised pork, chickens, turkeys, and eggs, wild-caught fish, vegetarian fed. Vegetarian fed pork, chickens, turkey, or eggs are not desirable. In other words, they're not necessary because he says that the animals that are omnivores, being vegetarian fed, are not being fed the way they're supposed to eat. Grass fed. Grass fed beef, buffalo, sheep, or goat is desirable. And while we may think, okay, hold on. The label means that for most of the animal's life, it was allowed to graze for its own fresh food, but most cattle are sent to a separate facility to be slaughtered. And at this facility, the cows are usually fed corn or grains that are not part of their natural diet. While we may think that this relatively short period of time would not make a difference, as it turns out, the nutrient profile, particularly the fatty acid profile of the meat, is changed for the worse. The best you can get is not only grass-fed, but also grass-finished. If the packaging says 100% grass-fed, it is also grass-finished. Ideally, this is how we want to get our cattle, buffalo, sheep, and goats. 100% grass-fed. Cavino Balaster, that's his nickname. Cavin Balaster is the author. And on Friday, I tend to go to Brain Rescue, and on Saturday, I tend to go to Feed a Brain. These two authors work together, and they have a course called the Rebound Community, Rebound. And Rebound here is, where did I put it? He has a map. Rebound. Where is it? I think the whole thing is Rebound. Oh yeah, this whole thing is Rebound. Never mind. He's got Rebound from the words. Here, let me get you those words. Okay, Rebound. R is for refocus. E is for engage. B is for brain. O is for optimize. U is for unleash. N is for nexus. D is for dedicate. That's the map here. And these two authors put together are a powerhouse of brain information. You can improve your brain and make it better than it even was before your injury. That's what they both tell us. So, and they have improved patients' lives for the better. They're not MDs, but they have all this info because of all their research. Okay, talk to you later. Hope you're well over in Bangladesh and in the USA, anywhere. Okay, old Kinderhook.